Welcome to the Business Titans podcast, where we talk everything to do with strategy on growing and scaling your business. I'm your host, Oscar Chavez, and today I have a very special guest. His name is Rob Moore. He's known as the Disruptive Entrepreneur. He is a man who went from being heavily in debt in his 20s to a self-made millionaire by 31. Rob is an entrepreneur, investor, author of 6 Amazon bestsellers, prolific podcaster, 2-time public speaking world record holder, and he is the founder of the Rob Moore Foundation, which helped disadvantaged youth, young people turn their dreams into reality. How are you going today, Rob?
All good, thanks, Oscar. All good.
Awesome. So look, the people watching this, I'm sure they want to know, like, there's only one thing I need to do to be successful, or there's one secret to success. What would you say to people that are watching that are really looking for a key insight? What is the key to your drive and success, Rob?
Wow, good first question. If you were to ask me what one trait would help to be successful, it would be a hybrid of resourcefulness and the continual solving of ever greater challenges. So your reward, Oscar, for solving a problem in business is actually a bigger problem. And, you know, if you look at, for example, in English football, you know, we had some really great lads who missed penalties. And of course, you know, they're experiencing great challenge right now. And you can imagine how hard it is to be them and how much stick they get. And that is the downside of being a professional footballer on the global stage. And you need to be, everyone talks about grit and resilience, Oscar. But I'm going to use the word resourcefulness, because I think resourcefulness is bobbing and weaving, ducking and diving, you know, sliding the punches, figuring out the challenges, dealing with the issues, managing your emotions, and finding solutions to problems that either didn't exist yesterday, or at least you've never found a solution to them before. And then continually doing that as you grow, Oscar, with no loss of drive, passion, and enthusiasm. You know, I've been fortunate enough to study many billionaires, study many successful people. I interviewed Floyd Mayweather twice for my podcast, The Disruptive Entrepreneur.
Right.
And I think if people are resourceful, resilient, and they continue to solve ever greater problems with no loss of enthusiasm, then no one can stop them being a disruptive entrepreneur.
I love that. I love that. And the word resourcefulness has really been on my heart and soul for at least the last week, just that one word, resourcefulness, because I agree with you. I think it's one of the key traits that people need in order to be successful. But you're performing at an echelon, right? At the highest levels in the world. How do you stay resourceful when because like you said, it's about ducking and weaving and figuring out new challenges without, and I love that you said, without the loss of enthusiasm. What do you do to keep enthusiastic? I mean, in business, things get tough. Left punches and right hooks come out of nowhere and just hit you in the gut and floor you. So what do you do to stay enthusiastic when times are really tough?
I love heavy metal, Oscar, so I have to listen to a bit of classic Pantera. That always puts me in a good mood. Hitting the gym is you know, or exercise and breathing. These things give you vitality, and they're important. But if I were to focus more on entrepreneurial qualities, it would be gratitude. It would be looking at what you've achieved, not just what you want to achieve. So for example, you said I'm in the higher echelon in the world. And I immediately thought, no, I'm not, I'm just Rob. Because, you know, I might compare myself to billionaires, but, you know, I made hundreds of millions. So I shouldn't really compare myself to billionaires. I've done all right. So recognizing how far you've come, recognizing the value you've given already, recognizing the person you are, recognizing how great, how good you've got it compared to a lot of people on the planet. I think that helps you, being grateful for your challenges as well as what's good, because it's very easy, isn't it, to be grateful when everything is going well. But actually, when things are going what you perceive to be difficult, there's hidden lessons in there, and there's hidden upside And if you're able to find the upside in the downside, as my mentor, John DeMartini says, there's a blessing in every stressing. And finding that blessing in the stressing, I think that helps. I think being around really inspired people, and you're allowed to have bad days, bad weeks. You're even allowed to have bad years. I interviewed the founder of Mulberry today, Oscar, and he was talking to me about 3 cycles, 80s, 90s, and 2000s. Literally every 10 years, he had 1 to 2 really hard years. He even lost his own company. A shareholder came in and did a hostile takeover. So, you know, understanding that life is in cycles, nothing that is bad lasts forever. Nothing that is good lasts forever. But being around people with experience and wisdom, people who want you to succeed, people who are on a similar mission, they're an entrepreneur like us, Oscar. I think there's some of the things that you can do to continually maintain enthusiasm when you're getting punched and kicked and kneed and elbowed and eye gouged.
I love that. It's so true. I love it. So you were heavily in debt in your 20s. What was it that you did to turn around your debt and scale your business to become a multi-millionaire?
I would say there were 2 or 3 defining things in a few month period of time, Oscar. You know, a lot of people are like, well, there was one day and one moment and everything changed and the light shone down on me and I had a revelation and I knew I was changed. I didn't get that day. I had a few shock days, don't get me wrong, but it was a combination of my dad having a massive nervous breakdown December 2005. I had a flatmate that was living in my house when I was skin, and he was moving out and he gave me a set of CDs. And then I would say meeting my business partner in a very chance meeting, I would say these are the 3 events that really changed the course of my life and got me out of debt and back into, well, I mean, I was £50,000 in debt in December 2005. I cleared all that and made my first 100 grand within just about a year. And then I made my first million before age 31, which pissed me off, Oscar, because I wanted to be a millionaire before 30. And then I've been able to say I was a millionaire in my 20s, 29.9 recurring. But I made it before age 31. Deca millionaire sort of a few years later. And then I sort of stopped counting after that. So let me quickly tell you about these 3 events, and then I'll try and keep it relevant to everyone listening.
Yeah.
So my dad raised me to be an entrepreneur. He's always been my hero. He's the hardest working person I've ever met. Worked, 12, 15-hour days for 35 years straight, every birthday, every Christmas. Did everything he could to protect me and my sister and my mum from the upbringing he had. Put me through school and university, paid for it, built my first car, bought my first house. And I was working in his pub, age 25.9, going nowhere, cocky, complacent, arrogant, chip on my shoulder, victim, really unlucky. Everyone else is lucky. Everyone else is successful, is a wanker or screwed someone over. I was just one of those kind of, you couldn't help me. I was uncoachable. And my dad had a nervous breakdown in his pub in front of all of his customers and my mum, my sister, and the police came and basically beat him up in front of all of the customers, sectioned him, diagnosed him with bipolar. And this was 15 years ago, Oscar, and this was a big moment in my life where I felt a lot of shame and guilt, and I felt like my dad had done so much for me and I was just an idiot, really. I was going nowhere in my life. I was still relying on them financially, nearly age 26, Oscar, and I'm like their pubs, I'm living above in the pub. I don't even have my own house. I don't even earn my own money outside of the family. And so I had about a week of really self-loathing and really looking deep inside myself. And I got through that, and I didn't know what I was going to do, Oscar, but I knew I had to change. I knew I had to take control, responsibility, be the entrepreneur that I knew I could be, take some risks, make some failures, look stupid, get uncomfortable. All these feelings were all mixed up in emotions I didn't really understand, and it was scary, but I just knew. Now, in this sort of period of time, I'm talking in these same weeks, my flatmate, who was renting a room off my tiny little 2-bed house because I couldn't afford the whole mortgage, was moving out. and he cleared everything, and he cleared stuff from under his bed, and he gave me this box of CDs. And I love music, Oscar. So I love all types of music. I like a singer-songwriter as well. So, Damien Rice, Jack Johnson. He gave me this set of CDs, singer-songwriter guy. But I'd never seen a singer-songwriter with a set of 8 CDs. And I put it in, and there's a bit of music, and it's spoken word. And I'm like, when's the music coming? And I'm checking out these CDs. And it's this guy called Tony Robbins. Never heard of this musician, Tony Robbins, before. Didn't even know what a life coach was, or a guru. I never knew this world of personal development. And like for the first sort of 30 minutes waiting for the music, I'm like, this is weird. And at first I hated him for his this guy isn't real. No one can be this happy. Fuck off. And of course, 3 or 4 CDs in, and I'm absolutely hooked. And that was the defining moment on my personal development journey, Oscar. And in the last 15 years, I've dropped more than 7 figures on personal development, business, mentoring, sales, marketing, scaling companies, anything for my personal and professional development. So that was the second thing that happened around that time. And then the third thing was, I used to be an artist, and a guy was hanging my art, and I was not selling much art at all. I was doing it on the side, working in my dad's pub through the day, through the week. And he'd been saying to me for years, Rob, you got to get into property, you got to get into property, you got to get into property. And of course, I'm like, no, I can't afford it, don't have the money. Property's for yuppies anyway, blah, blah, blah. They're just greedy, powerful capitalist bastards. I'll listen to Rage Against the Machine, fuck the system, hate everyone. That was me. So, and I thought that was cool being an artist. But because my dad had his nervous breakdown, and I was searching for something, and I'd got onto this sort of personal development journey, I was like, all right, Mike, I'm going to go. And I went, and I met my business partner of today there. First ever networking event I went to. We're developing a 100-unit block at the moment. It's nearly finished. We have 1,200 units in our property portfolio that we own, co-own, and manage across our 3 companies. We have the UK's largest property training company. We've done $150+ million revenue in training. I've written 18 business-related books, and all of this is off the back of meeting my business partner back in, I think it was right at the end of December 2005. So they're the 3 defining moments of my life where everything changed, and I got out of debt, and got on the entrepreneurial addiction wagon, disruptive, addicted entrepreneur, obsessive compulsive entrepreneur, bit fucked up, but love it anyway.
I love it. And I love that you've clearly gone through the hero's journey. You've gotten a call from beyond to achieve your highest potential. You've walked that journey. Do you still wrestle with old Rob? Do you still wrestle with the Rob that's kind of like, fuck the system, like that Rob that used to be the main Rob? Yeah,
not really the system Rob, because that actually is quite good for being an entrepreneur. You need to be a bit like, fuck the inland revenue, fuck the government, fuck the county, in a nice way. We're in the private sector where it's a different animal. So actually the rebellion and that disruption is good for being an entrepreneur. So I've actually embraced that, and I think that's helped. Good. What I have wrestled with is my own doubts and fears and inner critic, and can I do this? Am I good enough? I've definitely wrestled with that, Oscar, because, I started business with my business partner, no degree in business. We figured it all out ourselves. And, then we built a team, and we made, we sort of like, our education was mistakes. And so I do sometimes wrestle with, every day's a new day. I'm now in my second sort of economic cycle, if you like, and I have got mentors who've been through 4 economic cycles. I've become much more resilient to critics. I know that I'm grateful to have critics. I know that if I have critics, trolls, and haters, it means I'm doing something important. It's the penalty takers that get the critics, not the people, watching on the stands. It's much harder to play the game than be in the stands. What are the people in the stands doing with their life? It's the people on the pitch that are doing something with their life. So I see having critics as part of the game, but that was hard for me because I'm quite a people pleaser. I'm a bit soft. I don't like confrontation. I've had to learn confrontation, and dealing with challenge and clashes, which you have in business. So I wrestle with that stuff from time to time. I sometimes have a little bit of a what's the right way to do things. Oscar, I'll give you some random examples. Is it better to be honest with your team and tell them the challenges you're having to inspire them that you're a real, honest, grounded person, vulnerable, open? Or do you just put your game face on every day and you are the warrior, you are the leader, you are resilient, you're going to battle, you are unbreakable and strong, and you've got the team, and there is no cracks in your armor. Which one are you? And I have that quandary sometimes, because sometimes I feel like I haven't got it all figured out, and I should be honest about that. And then other times I think, no, I'm going to protect my team from that. I'm going to put my armor on, and they can all shoot the shots at me. They can all shoot their spears and arrows at me. So that's a little quandary I have, Oscar. Another little random one. I'm just talking shit now, but hopefully you'll get some benefit from it. Absolutely. Like, let me ask you this, Oscar. Let me throw it back on you. If someone asks you, how are you? How should you respond? How would you respond if I say, how are you?
Fantastic.
Okay. So basically what you're saying is, even if it's shit, you're saying fantastic.
Yeah.
But that's a lie sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, sometimes people say, how are you? And I'm like, do you want my freaking life story? Because that's how it is right now. But they don't really want my life story.
Yeah.
And if I go, oh yeah, I'm awesome, everything is awesome, I'm feeling like that's actually a lie. But it's also putting your game face on.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I have these, these are silly little things, but my point is, I do have these inner dialogues and this inner conflict from time to time that I'm sort of wrestling with. And I think that's the nature of life, because I think every upside has a downside, every downside has an upside. Yeah. I think, I could argue why you should always be honest with your team. And you could argue why, no, you should protect them from your struggles and always be a strong leader. And we could both argue very convincingly which one of those is right. Neither of those are right. They can both be right. So I sometimes deal with this inner conflict, if you like.
Yeah, no, it's good that you explain it that way, because it is. I haven't had that situation yesterday. Yesterday was probably one of the worst days that I've had in a while. And team asks you how you are. I'm like, fantastic, because there's no other answer, right? So I have that conundrum all the time, because you never get to the point in life or success where everything's just easy, everything's easy breezy. There's no challenges, there's no woes. You go and sit on a beach forever, because you get bored with that. You have to get back in the game. But if you're in the game, you're going to get hurt. You're going to take the punches, the roundhouse kicks, the eye gouges, like you so elegantly put it. It's awesome. So now, conflict management. Some people are great at it because they're quite aggressive and they steamroll and they don't give a crap what happens. Other people, like myself as well, struggle with conflict a little bit. What are some of the strategies that you've used to really manage conflict in a productive way that allows you to clash heads with someone if you need to and get the result that you want?
Right. This is a really deep question, Oscar. The first thing is, it depends on your default personality. So if you're a sort of person that likes conflict, you've probably got to step back, be a bit more subtle, be a bit more inclusive. If you're someone who avoids conflict, you've got to push yourself and go to those points of pain. So step one is, what kind of person are you? The next thing then is, what kind of person is the person you're having conflict with? Are they the sort of person that will avoid conflict and they're a people pleaser? Are they the sort of person that if you trigger them, you're going to get the worst of them, and that can be very unproductive and not necessarily where you want to go? But then sometimes you have to break the walls down to get there. And how do you break those walls down without breaking the individual? Also, what's your outcome from the conflict? Is your outcome to resolve the conflict? Is your outcome to teach some kind of lesson? Is your outcome to lose the staff member, lose the client? Is your outcome going to go legal? Or so it also depends on the outcome. Now, Oscar, I'm not really a guy that likes to answer a question with it depends, because I like to give things that are implementable and tactical, but context is everything in everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, if I said fuck off, Oscar, or if I said fuck off, Oscar, that's context. And that makes a bit, sorry if there's kids are listening, but you've heard worse. So there's some context to set the scene with, Oscar. So then dealing with conflict is, what's the outcome? You've got to work out what is the outcome that you want. And then I think you've got to make your point in a way that is non-emotional, factual, and fair. So if you've got to be clear, okay, what lesson do I need this person to get, or what's the resolution or the outcome? And then how do I put my side across in a non-emotional, fair, firm, measured way? And I would say in most cases with conflict, when there is no resolution, it's emotion and ego. And I would say in sometimes, but a lesser degree, it's lack of plan or outcome. So you can have plan or outcome and then try and circumvent emotion and ego. Then you're going to get some way to doing that. And ego manifests itself in many different ways, Oscar. Ego isn't just peacocking, look at me, disruptive entrepreneur, I am a legend, bow before me. Ego is, I'm not good enough. Ego is, I can't do this. I don't want to be here. Ego is shame. Ego is, some people hide as a default. So I can see when I'm having tricky conversations with people, I can see in their face the emotions are there, but then I can see them go there and then I can see them back off and give me an answer which is tactical. And I'm like, no, that's not what you really meant. How can I help you? And then they give me a tactical answer, but I can see in their face there's emotion. It's not the tactic they need help with, it's the emotion. So the best way to not bring out the emotion and the ego in someone else is to control your own emotion and ego.
Yeah.
And I would actually say, tying together some of the questions we've already had, Oscar, managing your own emotion and ego, I reckon that is business mastery and life mastery right there. If you know your emotions and your ego, because we all have them, and I'm not actually saying you're ever going to get rid of them, but if you know the beast and you know how to manage the beast, and you've got an outlet for the beast, and the outlet isn't your boss or your customer or social media, the outlet is, thank you for the feedback. And then you get in the car and then you put Pantera on and then you hate you hate the world, then that's fine. So this is probably one of the hardest things to do, Oscar, but you know what? Don't take anything personally. If people flip out, don't take it personally. It's not you, it's them. If they're triggered, it's not you, it's them. It's something in them that they've been dealing with their whole life. And if you can not take anything personally in a conflict situation, that's managing your ego, because it's not about you, it's about them. Therefore, the ego doesn't get triggered. And then once you've controlled the ego, you're able to control the emotion. So there are some tips, hopefully, that are useful for dealing with conflict and conflict management. And
I love that. And even though there was, context appropriate for various situations, you've given some really powerful advice that people can use and implement to help them with those scenarios. So now you're a double public speaking world record holder. You spoke for 46 hours, 39 minutes straight. Is that correct? And how did you prepare and train for this massive feat? And what was, what drove you to do it?
Yeah, so what drove me to do it is I wanted to do something, a nice little marketing publicity campaign in my niche of entrepreneurship. I've done a lot of speaking over the years, thousands of speeches. So that was a tick. And I've been looking for, maybe there's a world record I could break, but there was a lot of really, really niche world records. And then there was sort of some generic ones which aren't relevant to my niche, like, chin-ups and press-ups and marathons and stuff like that, which is not me. It's not my niche. And I'm never going to be able to achieve that probably. So we found the public speaking world record was, I think back at the time, it was 42 hours. And immediately me and my research team, we knew that was me all over. That was, that was one that I should own. Come on, everyone else, get out of the way. This is mine. I did no preparation, which in hindsight was both equally good and bad. Bad because I lost my voice end of day 2. It was really freaking hard, Oscar. Really, like when I was, last time I saw David Goggins and we were hanging out, I interviewed him on my podcast. He gave me that look of respect that is not easy to get from someone like David Goggins when we were talking about me breaking the public speaking world record, because it was freaking hard. Now, why is it good that I didn't prepare? Because if I'd have known how hard it was, Oscar, I probably wouldn't have done it. Or I would have at least taught myself down or out of it. Yeah. So that being said, I had to have enough content to speak for 47 hours straight. So thankfully, I've got more than 47 hours worth of business, real estate, property, personal development, marketing and sales knowledge in my head. So I just churned it all out over 47 hours, smashed the world record by a good 5 hours. Went back and had only 2 or 3 hours sleep back in the office, got a standing ovation in the office when I walk back in. Normally I get a standing ovation when I leave the office, not when I come to the office. And it was a great experience.
That is mad Dave Goggins respect as well. I mean, going and sleeping for 2 hours and then going straight back to it. That's one of the best stories I've ever heard for sure. Is there anything, Rob, that I should have asked you that I didn't? Or what message would you love to leave with the audience as we wrap up today?
I finish off my podcast, The Disruptive Entrepreneur. We're about 700 episodes in now, Oscar, with a saying, if you don't risk anything, you risk everything. And that is like, if I was only allowed to talk about one thing for the rest of my life, that quote would probably be it. Because every day, if you make yourself a bit uncomfortable and you do things that are a bit scary and you push yourself outside your normal zone of experience and you try things and you test things and you make some calculated gambles and you do that with passion, enthusiasm, energy, humility, you're going to have, at the very least, you're going to have a colorful, varied and interesting life. And you're probably going to be pretty rich and you're probably going to do something meaningful. And it's going to be hard at times. And sometimes you're going to go, life is hard enough. Why am I actually doing this to myself? But every day I have at least 4 or 5 conversations with myself, Oscar, which is, this is hard. I'm doing it anyway. I'm manning up. It's making me more resilient. It's preparing me for the next level. Good on you, Rob, for tackling this. Good on you for taking this challenge on, which is definitely uncomfortable for you. You know, a bit of respect to yourself. Pat yourself on the back. You got this. Do this every freaking day, Rob, and you'll have a great life. And remember how you'll feel at the end of it when you've come through this challenge. And I'm having these words with myself right now, Oscar, because obviously we're sort of out of a lockdown, but we are not out of this, Oscar. We could have years of shit from this. And like, even though in our country, in the UK, the government have announced Freedom Day is in a few days' time and it's officially over. The customers are not behaving like that. And it's unpredictable. Our business is freaking unpredictable. You just can't make a plan. And it's challenging as heck. And at least when it's predictably difficult, you can make a plan, but it's great, then bad, then great, then bad, then up, then down, then round and round. So every day I'm now saying to myself, push yourself, get uncomfortable, take risks, do things that you're not sure if they're going to work, try new things. And to add one more thing to that, Oscar, and this isn't mine. I mean, if you don't risk anything, you risk everything. That is my quote. And, but I read Adlerian psychology, one of the main concepts in that, and there's a book called, I think it's called The Courage to Be Disliked. I'm pretty sure it's called that. And Adlerian, as in Adler, psychologist, Adlerian psychology is discussed in detail in that book. Yeah. And there's certain concepts which I think are very useful. By far and away, the greatest concept in that book, which I think is a gift that this episode we've done together could really make a difference in people's lives, is that the ultimate freedom is the courage to be disliked. And, you know, people pleasing and being liked and noticed and respected and admired is something I've wrestled with for a lot of my life, Oscar. I was the most overweight. I was the fattest kid in my school, year aged 8, 9, 10, and 11. I developed a real people-pleasing need because of lack of inclusion, which created all sorts of voids in me. And I've found it very hard to deal with people who don't like me or who will challenge me or who will criticize me. And one of the greatest gifts business has taught me is that if you want to be successful in business, you need to collect many people along the way who don't like what you say and don't like what you do and don't like who you are. And you've got to accept that and go on your path anyway, despite them, knowing that they're there.
Yeah.
So when you have the courage to be disliked, you know, a lot of people are talking about authenticity and being yourself. And this is a big movement on this at the moment. Well, I think I can take that whole industry and sum it up with authenticity is being yourself with the courage to be disliked, being who you are.
Yeah. I love that. They're wonderful words to wrap up on. And look, I really appreciate you from the bottom of my heart, Rob. Thank you very much. And everyone watching, how can they get in contact with you? How can they consume more of your content?
Well, they can buy everything I'm selling. That's one thing. That's the least they can do. So I have a podcast called The Disruptive Entrepreneur. That's a great way to consume a load of content from me and my guests, 15 billionaires, Floyd Mayweather twice, you name it. And you can follow me on all socials, Rob Moore, MOORE, or Rob Moore Progressive. You'll find me on all socials. I've written a lot of books, Oscar. If people were to start, I'd probably go with Money or Opportunity, which is my most recent book.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you so much, Rob. Really appreciate it. One sec.